Okay, so we're going to start by welcoming everybody tonight and opening the meeting, convening roll call, I believe.
Commissioner LaSalle.
Present.
Commissioner Stoll.
Present.
Commissioner Meinig.
Present.
Commissioner Laws.
Here.
And Vice Chair Dole.
Here.
Chair Espy is excused.
Okay, great, thank you. We're going to move into the next item, the approval of the minutes. Do we want to have a discussion, a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes of
I second.
5/12/25.
She was right. Okay, that sounds like we got a second. Can we do the vote?
Commissioner LaSalle.
Aye.
Commissioner Stoll.
Aye.
Commissioner Meinig.
Aye.
Commissioner Laws.
Aye.
Vice Chair Dole.
Aye. Meeting is approved, so thank you. Meeting minutes approved. Let's move into public comment. Do we have any public comment, anyone? No public comment. Okay, we're flying through it then. Let's go ahead and start the quasi-judicial hearing. I'm going to read for a minute. So let's see. Public hearings on land use applications are scheduled for tonight. Our role is to conduct the public hearing and to make decisions about the matter before us. In making those decisions, we must apply the applicable codes and laws and cannot vary from or change those laws or codes. A staff report has been prepared for each application and has been made available to the public 7 days before the first public hearing. The staff report identifies the approval criteria that apply to each applicant's proposal. Staff has analyzed the criteria which are contained in the staff report. The hearing procedure that the Planning Commission will follow is set out in state law and the Oregon City Municipal Code. The hearing procedure steps are shown on the Planning Commission website. Public testimony will be called on in the order it was requested. If you wish to testify in person, please fill out a speaker card available at the back of the room. If you wish to testify virtually, you will be called either from a request to speak emailed to city staff at planning at Oregon City or city.org in advance of this meeting, or by raising your virtual or physical hand when I ask if there are others in the audience who would like to participate. For the public record, please begin all testimony stating your name and city of residence. If you would like to receive a copy of the notice of decision, please state your mailing address or email address. Testimony and evidence should be directed toward the applicable approval criteria. If you believe other criteria apply in addition to those addressed in the staff report, identify and discuss those criteria and explain how and why you believe they apply to the application under consideration. Any person may submit written material while the public record is open on each application. Any written materials received by the city staff during the time period in which the record is open will be placed in the record. Written materials submitted during the public hearing must be presented to the city staff in order to become part of the record. If a person intends for PowerPoint presentations, reports, pictures, or other exhibits used in their oral testimony to be placed in the record, copies must be submitted to the city staff while the record is open. If they are not given to staff, they will not be included in the record. Any person wishing a continuance to present additional evidence and testimony or to keep the record open to respond to new evidence must make that request before the public testimony portion of the initial hearing is closed. If the Planning Commission makes a decision with which you disagree, any issue that you may wish to appeal must have been raised before the Planning Commission in order to be considered by the City Commission, and in the event of further appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals. Without raising the issue on the record with sufficient detail and accompanied by statements or evidence allowing the city and all parties to respond, the issue will not be considered on appeal. In addition to participating orally or in writing and raising all issues during the Planning Commission proceeding, the filing of an appeals must include the required fee. A city-recognized neighborhood association may request waiver of an appeal fee subject to the requirements set forth in OCMC 17.50.190C5 and 17.50.290C. In addition, the failure of an applicant to raise constitutional or other issues related to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient detail to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. That was a long-winded read. So now we will open the record for Oregon City, file number GLUA-25-08, with a variance 25-02. Variance to permit a drive aisle between the building and street for a porte cochère drop-off area as part of a planned assisted living facility, rehabilitation, 515 10th Street. Members of the Planning Commission are to be unbiased. As a result, I will call on each commissioner to disclose any potential conflicts, such as family, financial, or business relationships with any of the applicants or with regard to the land in question. I will also ask whether any of the planning commissioners have discussed the application in question and with any of the parties, or have independent knowledge of relevant facts, such as from a site visit to the site in question. Any member of the audience may question any planning commissioner about their disclosure. At this point, does any commissioner have any conflicts of interest, ex parte contact, bias, or any other statement to declare or have visited the site? If there was a site visit, the planning commission must declare what he or she perceived. Commissioner A, Bob, Commissioner LaSalle, do you have any?
I just have ex parte contact. I've driven by the location frequently. That's all.
Okay. Commissioner Stoll?
No bias, no conflict of interest. I did make a site visit about an hour ago from the 10th Street driveway parking lot area. That's it.
Commissioner Laws?
I have no bias, no ex parte contact. I do pass the building regularly going down Washington Street. That's about it.
Commissioner?
I have no bias, no conflict of interest, no ex parte.
And same, no bias, ex parte contact, myself. Great. Does anyone in the audience wish to question any of the planning commissioners about these disclosures? No? Well, now let's commence with the staff report.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Dole and Planning Commissioners. I'll get the PowerPoint ready. I have a kind of a brief 8 or 9 slide, just kind of overviewing the main issues. I'm here to answer questions. I know the applicant's here this evening as well. All right. Okay, next slide. All right, so before we start, in front of you is a readout of an email that Niall Hagan, the applicant, sent to me on Friday. I've added it to the record this evening. It was in response to a public comment that happened during the public comment period, questioning if this facility was going to be a drug rehab facility. The applicant provided some backstory of their plans for an assisted living residential care facility, so I wanted to add that to the record and have that available. And once again, the applicant is here this evening. Next slide. Okay. So the proposal you have this evening is the request for a variance to permit a drive aisle between the building and the street, and that's 10th Street, for either a porte cochère, which is a fancy way of saying a drop-off area, for a planned assisted living facility, which will be a rehabilitation of the old Oregon City Hospital. This is required by Oregon administrative rules, and so in order to pursue this rehab, they have to provide a covered drop-off area directly to the building. Because of the existing condition and the location and the topography, this really is the only location. So site plan design review standards don't let staff be able to approve this on a staff level, and that is why it's here in front of you this evening. This really is the first part of a 3-part approval process, and I'll kind of lay that out in the next slide. But with this approval, they will move forward with the site plan design review. And actually, I just spoke with the applicant today, and they uploaded the site plan and design review submittal to our portal today. So we'll be moving forward on completeness review for that this next month. Next slide. So the property is located at 515 10th Street. While 10th Street appears to look like a kind of a private parking lot, it actually is part of improved 10th Street and is accessible to the public. There are 90-degree parking spaces that will be rehabbed in the public right-of-way as part of this process, but it will remain as a 10th Street. Next to the property is the, can you go back, is the Dr. Guy Mount House, which you can see, I highlighted that in blue at 505. That is part of the rehabilitation project, but it is not part of the application this evening because it's on a different tax lot, and the request is for 515 10th Street. And actually where you see the blue arrow is the specific location of the drop-off area. Next slide. Okay, as part of the rehabilitation process, the applicant needs to go through 3 different approvals. Tonight is the Planning Commission variance, so it's June 2025. Because the Dr. Guy Mount House is actually a locally designated historic resource on a separate tax lot, the Old Oregon City Hospital is actually not locally designated in our McLaughlin Conservation District. But the applicant is looking at putting together an accessible enclosed walkway, kind of an enclosed hyphen between the 2 buildings to allow easy access between the residents and the Dr. Mount House, which will be more administrative and some administrative and I think some kind of, I'm blanking out the name, kind of leisure activity opportunities for the residents. That will be going from the Historic Review Board, just that connection, because that'll be on the tax lot of the Dr. Guy Mount House. And that will happen this summer. And then what the applicant submitted today is the administrative site plan and design review. And so that's made up of 3 parts. One, the site plan design review. This is property is in the geohazard overlay district because of its steep slope. And as part of the 2000 non-conforming use review that actually the Planning Commission looked at, the Dr. Mount House was not added as part of that review, and the applicant will be providing the background information to show that as early as the 1930s, it was integrated into the hospital and should really be seen as a full package. So that analysis will be done at the site plan and design review level. Next slide. Okay, as mentioned, this building was a 1930s era hospital and was turned into the Oregon City Retirement Center. The property owner, Niall Hagan, purchased the property and requested a legal nonconforming review, which was LN 2003. And through that process, the Planning Commission provided approval for nonconforming use of assisted living with a cap of 50 residents. This property is located in the R3.5 residential districts, and so a residential care facility or assisted living facility is not a permitted use. The rehabilitation really requires adhering to the legal nonconforming review that happened in 2020. Next slide. The next couple slides provide some background on what the applicant laid out for the porte cochère or the drop-off area. You'll see that the cars are coming in from 10th and going in and exiting on 10th Street with a covered area that is built right to the property line. One in the site plan you see in this slide, the applicant did not identify a direct pedestrian access to the main door. But on the next slide, I'll show you, which is the renderings. They did show up direct pedestrian access as one of the conditions of approval identifies that they should provide a direct pedestrian access, and they will be doing that. But I want to just identify that there was not alignment between the site plan and the renderings. So the next slide, you'll see the renderings when the blue arrow shows that direct pedestrian connection. So pedestrians are not sharing the same drive aisle with cars if you're walking up from Washington Street. Next slide. So the variance criteria are here and the analysis is found in the staff report, but this is a pretty clear example of an existing condition with a hardship in the sense that because of its location, there really is no other place to provide that direct resident drop-off area. And I believe the applicant has provided adequate findings for all the variance criteria and really done a pretty thorough alternative analysis. So as part of this variance criteria, that did provide a condition of approval that it really was based on the existing building. So if for some reason a majority of the building was demolished, they would have to come back and provide a new analysis. So this is based on the existing condition of the hospital as you see it today. Next slide. So there are really only two conditions of approval. One, as I indicated, kind of that this analysis is based on the existing condition of the building, and if things change and it's demolished, then they would have to come back to the Planning Commission with a new alternative analysis and a new variance review. And two really identifies that a direct pedestrian access should be provided from 10th Street and Washington Street. So those are the conditions of approval I have. You have some options this evening. Next slide. Approve the variance request with the two conditions provided by staff, approve it with any conditions modified by the Planning Commission, or request additional information from the applicant and continue to a date certain. So I'm available on a staff level if you have any questions.
Thanks, Christine, I appreciate that. Questions? Discussion? Okay. Commissioner Stoll, yeah?
I don't know if this is a question for you or for the applicant, but I'll start now.
Sure.
The existing condition is that essentially the disabled ramp is on what would be the 10th and Washington corner, facing 10th Street.
Yeah.
And in the render, or in the site plan here, it shows a planter all the way across that. How do those two things quantify each other?
And I think that's related to the condition. Okay. I think like a lot of this, their variance application came ahead of them finalizing their drawings, and it happens sometimes where your two drawings aren't quite at the same version, and so I think with that condition of approval, they can. Okay. And that's kind of the findings that the Planning Commission can give, like move forward with your site plan and design review with these items.
Yeah, my concern is that if the property line is the face of that building, and then there's, a 3 or 4 foot wide ramp that goes up where the sidewalk is lower, that there's no way to have a sidewalk. I mean, it'll jut out into the street.
Yeah, and it didn't say sidewalk, it just said pedestrian access. I think the goal is to make sure that you aren't sending folks walking directly into the drive aisle, that there is an identified pedestrian area. Okay. That, and if it's not a identified, width sidewalk, that at least is an identified pedestrian area.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Stoll. Any other, Commissioner Mining? No? Commissioner Laws, any questions from you online?
No, I do not have any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Is that what you wanted?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Okay, Christina, should we hear from the applicant?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Come on your mic.
It's on. Hi. Thank you, Christina. Appreciate it. I'm Niall Hagan. Thank you very much for having us. This is one of our architects with Lenity Architects, David.
Holbert.
I was thinking it was Holbert. As you can see, obviously, it's been a 5-year project here. I hope you had time to quickly read my short note there. It's been near and dear to my heart. I think we're finally prepared to move forward with the redevelopment of the property and hopefully beautifying it and honoring the community. As Christina mentioned, this is a legal requirement for assisted living facilities in particular, because of course the elderly need a place to exit their cars and be shielded from the rain. So we hope that it's essentially a formality addressing Mr. Stoll's concern or question that ramp will be removed and direct access will be provided through the primary entrance, which will be where the porte cochère is located. So that is at least our plan now and included in our site plan that we submitted today. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Appreciate you being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Stoll?
Yeah, I didn't get close enough to the existing entry, but it looked like there was no ramp inside those doors. Is that going to be remodeled, or did I see that incorrectly?
Yeah, so of course, an issue is a grade entry, so we will be addressing and hopefully essentially filling in some of the topography that's existing today. That'll
gotcha.
be
Okay.
part of our application, which was submitted today. So the hope is that people enter at grade.
Oh, gotcha. So raise the grade of the driveway to match the top of the stairs.
Essentially,
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Any other questions from fellow commissioners? No? Commissioner Laws, looking at you, anything online?
No, it'd be fun to see the before and after pictures, though. I'd love to see it.
Copy that.
Well, it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice.
Yeah, and then Christina, any public testimony?
We do, it sounds like we have one. Oh, we don't know. Okay. Okay.
Great.
A different layout than we do. I didn't fill it all out, you know the rest. Good evening, I'm Denise McGriff, and I live in Oregon City, and I'm an adjacent property owner and have been a resident of the McLaughlin neighborhood for approximately 35 years. I hope that you all did go do a site visit and see this particular piece of property and drive up 10th Street through the very narrow opening to come on to Center, because that's, you know, seeing is believing. So I'm here, I'm sorry that none of my neighborhood residents here, but you got a letter from the McLaughlin neighborhood, and I did listen to the report that was done by the land use chair, but I did not vote on that. Anyway, I'm here in support of the application primarily because, number one, I speak for myself and my neighbors. We are really sick of looking at the place the way it is. We have been working with Niall for the last, many years to try to get this project underway. I would say that for purposes of emergency access and just access in general, I do not support the vacation of 10th Street, nor is that being proposed. I think that it needs to stay there, primarily because it does provide access to the dead end at Center Street. There's only really one way to kind of get out of there if you don't, and a lot of people turn down there even though they don't know where they're going. The other thing that is of concern is that as an adjacent property owner, I would like to see this building rehabilitated in some way so that it becomes a contributing part of the neighborhood. As you know, it's been vacant for quite a long time. And while it was the Oregon City Retirement Center, it was a, how will I say this nicely? It was the scene of many police calls and activities. Prior to that, when I moved in, it was a home for developmentally disabled people. There wasn't a peep out of it. So in the interim between Niall's purchase and the neighbors, Zig and his wife, it just kind of ran downhill and became a nuisance in the neighborhood. So I am delighted that this is finally underway. I was delighted to hear that the site plan and design review has been submitted, and I believe that he does meet all the application does meet all the criteria. This is sort of a unique circumstance that I would hope that you would support this. I think that this building, while I would say that it's probably like the rest of the houses in our neighborhood, a money pit, it would be nice to see it rehabilitated. I will more than likely be back to address the Historic Review Board. The Dr. Guy Mount House is one of the 3 Mount houses that are in the neighborhood. There was also a cousin who was a dentist, and those are all on the area of Center Street, and they basically established the Oregon City Hospital, and you probably have run into many people who were born there over the years and, had their tonsils and appendixes taken out of there. So, it contributed to the neighborhood for, a very, very long time. And that's really all I want to say. If you have any questions for me, I'm very familiar with the building, been in it many times, been in the Mount House many times. And like I said, I've lived in the neighborhood for over 35 years, so I'm very familiar with this piece of property. And we've been having, I will say this, that Niall has been very generous in the fact that he has reached out to the neighbors on many occasions, because this has just been, like I said, it's the economy, COVID, everything else, and I know that my neighbors are going to be very happy to see this finally get underway. So thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Appreciate your testimony. Any others? Christina, okay, no? Okay, so help me here, training wells. I believe we close. Applicant rebuttal. Does the applicant want to respond to anything, add any?
No, you can come up, but you'll have to say your name and place of residence.
Good evening, thank you. My name is Colleen Robbins. I own the building across Washington Street on the corner of 10th and Washington, the little Spanish style across from the Victorian. And I want to express my support for exactly what Niall is doing. I think this is the ideal use for the building. I think that he has a beautiful vision. I think the history, my family bought the building that I own now in 1976. It was my grandmother's until about 2001, and then my mother owned it, and I inherited it when my mother passed away. So we have some long history. My grandfather lived there for decades. But I am very, very excited, and I hope that this goes easily and quickly so we can get it beautiful again. So.
Great. Do you mind stating your name?
My name is Colleen Robbins.
Thank you, Colleen. Appreciate you coming in your testimony today. Okay, anybody else? We ready to? Okay, all right. So wrap it up. Okay, we'll close the public hearing and go into deliberations. Any deliberations? Any motions?
I'd like to make a motion to approve GLUA 25-0008 and VAR 25-0002.
And I second that.
Great, we have a motion and a second. Shall we do the vote?
Commissioner LaSalle?
Aye.
Commissioner Stoll?
Aye.
Commissioner Meidig?
Aye.
Commissioner Laws?
Aye.
Vice Chair Dole?
Aye. All right, well, that concludes the vote. Thank you very much. Let's move into our next item. There is, I heard that. We'll give it a little clap for you. We'll repeat that. No discussion items for tonight, so we're gonna move right into any communications.
I do. Pete Walter, interim community development director, wasn't able to make it tonight, but he gave me a giant list of bullets, so I'm going to do my best to provide an update of kind of a bunch of different odd items, but I think they're all kind of good updates. First, there is no meeting, next Planning Commission meeting, so the 6/23 Planning Commission meeting is canceled, so we'll see y'all in July. So plan accordingly, get out there and enjoy what June has to offer, hopefully some more sun. Okay, so a little bit of update. The City Commission approved the first reading, the City Commission reviewed the CFEC parking standards and made a request for staff to reach back out to DLCD to see if we could potentially look at a quarter-mile radius around frequent transit service. Because of our topography, we created a memo and reached back out to them, and that was denied, but that was an important, I think, loop to close with the City Commission, just to make sure that there weren't any opportunities to kind of have and identified a radius that was kind of a little more with the eye to the topographically challenged piece of a lot of that route.
I remember we had a choice between a walking route, half-mile radius, and a physical radius. Which one did they go?
It was the physical radius, but that was still based on a half mile.
Well, but there was the walking route, and then there was like the crow
So it was the
flies.
walking route that moved forward.
Okay, good.
So our GIS department did a really great job at looking at the sidewalk opportunities, the connections, and so we do, the walking route map is what's adopted, but then there was a further request to look at a quarter mile rather than a half mile, and that
Gotcha.
quarter mile was denied.
Okay.
So the city commission is moving forward with adoption with the walking route, which is slightly smaller in some areas, but it still uses the half mile.
Yeah, thank you.
DLCD also just announced a new round of grants for the housing capacity analysis or housing needs analysis. A new word, the new title is housing capacity analysis. We recently did one, I think in 2001, 2002. We're coming back up again for 2028. And so Pete and I will be moving forward with that grant application. This is kind of the data piece, and then the housing production strategy is the policy piece, and that will come a little just after the housing needs analysis, the housing capacity. So we're applying for grants for the data part, and that's that first step. We are the kind of the last group of cities, so we get to watch what everyone else has been doing. So hopefully we'll get some cues and ideas of how best to move forward on the strategy, but hopefully we'll be able to get a DLC grant to pay for most of the data analysis. Let's see. The July 1st is also the actual official starting date of the Housing Accountability Production Office, also called HAPO. They've kind of been moving forward and gaining staff, and they are now officially live. As of July 1, they really are the piece that coordinates both with development of land conservation and development and our building codes division to identify ways and to work with cities to track their housing production. Let's see. So on some development news, we had a pre-application conference submitted for PGE on their parcel that you looked at this last year. So they're coming in for their expansion of their facility. So that I'm not aware of a need for a variance or a master plan, but if it goes to master plan, you'll see it. If it's just a straight site plan and design review, it'll stay at the staff level. We'll kind of work through those items at the pre-application conference coming up. Let's see, the Parks Master Plan received its first reading at the last City Commission meeting, and this next Wednesday will be the second reading of the Parks Master Plan, so that's moving forward for adoption. And something that we've been working diligently on in-house, and you haven't really been hearing from staff, but we're moving forward to online plans review. So right now we take everything in digitally, but we just make our comments kind of in the PDF form. But now we're actually going to be doing our session reviews fully digitally. And so that's kind of working in-house to train everybody and get to the place where we not only will be, the applicants will be submitting, but we'll be reviewing through a digital format, rather than just kind of red marking PDFs, which is where we're at, which is a little bit of a hybrid approach. Let's see, I think that is all the major news I have. Kay, do you have anything?
Yes, I do have some news. This is my last planning commission meeting. I gave my resignation this morning, and my last day will be June 26th. I went out and passed the state exam to become a property and casualty insurance agent. My husband owns an insurance agency, and his partner wants out, so I'm going to become his partner. So, nothing like gonna be 59 and starting a whole new career, but I'm going for it.
You can do it, Kay. I just don't remember you ever coming and getting permission from the chair or vice chair to do this. It's like, what?
There's a few people in my building that aren't too happy about that yet.
I can imagine. Well, we're going to miss you. Thank you for your service here and everything you've done.
It's been fun. I've enjoyed getting to know you guys and be a part of this process. It's been very educational, and it's been fun. So
Well, we wish you well in your
Thank
next
you.
adventure.
Thanks.
Just don't forget about us.
You can
Okay,
come and make public comment anytime you want.
so true. Okay, I think we can officially wrap it up. All right, well, I guess that concludes our,
Do you have to move to adjourn or no? Just adjourn?
move, yep.
She's the
You can
parliamentarian, and then
Training,
Want to
was-
move to
go.
adjourn, or do you?
I think we just.
we usually just adjourn.
Okay.
Yeah, which-
Sounds good to me.
Okay, well, we're done for tonight. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.